Hey folks, we have another replay here from Cippalippus. He is in his T37 and has ended up on a terrible team on Cippalippus. Reminder, this is from the EU server, so let's see how this plays out. It's a tier 7 match, which is pretty nice to land in the T37, but looking at his team, the average win rate seems to be about 47%. So I would not like my chances if I'd ended up on this team. I really wouldn't. They've even got a T50 on their team. The T50 is actually the least bad puppy on the entire team. Although I would usually push to angled houses in a light tank, the T50 is already doing that, so there's not much point doubling up by sending Cippalippus there as well. He decides to come down the rails, see what's here, which would normally be pretty dangerous, but he's not a puppy, so he's not going to charge up there suicidally. He's just going to passive scout from the position I would have gone to if I was going to passive scout rails, or indeed if I was going to actually fire down rails with my Centurion. And then he waits for his team to catch up. Two enemies are in the west, we know that much, because the KV-3 just suicide in front of the KV-85 somewhere on the D-line ridge, and the 3601 was spotted down in the gully. As his teammates push up, Cippalippus begins to move. There's no point trying to spot from behind them. And being a T-37, he does actually have quite a substantial amount of firepower he's able to put out. It looks like the enemy team have actually left this flank unguarded, which you'll find out very shortly is exactly what they've done. Not the wisest idea. The 3601, sporting the 105mm derp gun apparently, decides it would be a good idea to drive into the lagoon, and it's not. It never ever is. And so while the puppies stay to the left, Cippalippus rides up on the rails just to make sure he's got the spotting range to try and see any threats, and then he crosses, cutting the corner. Being a light tank, of course, he does maintain camo on the move, so he can do so with some degree of confidence. And sure enough, a tiger gets lit. Tiger immediately starts backing up, but he isn't quite sure which direction to point his gun. Even though Cippalippus has been spotted, the tiger seems to want to engage the heavies rather than the light tank, which is busy chipping away at his hit points. He hasn't even fired his gun. He still hasn't fired his gun, in fact. So that tiger just took about 700 combined damage from Cippalippus' team and has not fired his gun yet. KV-2 goes down. Hardy is lit. But there are scarier targets spotted on the ridgeline. Cippalippus goes to deal with the Arty, just to take it out of the equation, but it gets counter-batteried before he gets there. Puppy Arty have a tendency to not move after they get spotted and then complain about getting counter-batteried. I wonder why. Then begins working on this KV-85. Tracks it on the ridgeline, and then helps take it apart. KV-85 is using the 122mm gun. What a smart choice. 100mm is a far superior gun, the 122 is garbage. Don't use it. Now, friendly team have collapsed in the north, meaning that a cap fast could win this game actually, but of course the one time you need puppies to cap fast, they won't do it. Friendly KV-85 also stupid enough to mount the 122, and the Comet are hiding just outside of cap, trying to snipe at a hull down Tiger. Cippalippus gives him a piece of his mind and a piece of truth, quite frankly, and then decides he will be more useful going back to try and do emergency reset duty. But along the way he stops to get some quick shots into the AT-7 because surely his useless teammates will not be able to handle it themselves. He's able to take it out. Christ knows why this full health KV-85 is so far back from the action. And another idiot with a 122mm gun. Seriously, do not use that fucking gun. It is awful. You have a 20-second reload. Pathetically bad gun handling. It's basically a giant shoot me here, I'm reloading sign. I mean, the gun was questionable in my opinion, even on the KV-1S, but the 1S at least made it work. The KV-85 does not. Do not use it. Use the 100mm, for fuck's sake. Please. Using that gun on the T-44 is less bad of an idea, if that's any indication of how terrible it is. Alright, so now, here comes the interesting part. This is why I had to share this replay with you guys. Cippalippus spots every single enemy tank in cap without being spotted in return, and begins resetting them all in sequence. Now, at this point, you would surely think some of them would leave cap, find some hard cover, and force him out. Or at least, one of them would start pushing his position. You would be wrong. They just sit there in cap, confused, spinning their turrets around, looking for something to shoot at, while he picks them all apart from full, well, not from full health necessarily, but from... It's just, look at this shit. Look at this shit. He's sitting just outside their spotting range. All they need is for the Lukes to drive forwards about 20 meters and it will spot him and he will die. He could survive maybe 2 or 3 shots from anything in there, at best. But the Lukes refuses to spot. In fact, it goes to hide as hard as it possibly can behind one of the wrecks. And so the Black Prince is left blind, tracked, broadside to an angry T-37. This is just ridiculous. I saw this and I nearly fell out of my chair. I honestly have to wonder if this is the kind of shit that normally happens on the European server, and if so, NA may actually have better pubbies than EU. I don't even see this shit happen on West. The Lukes may think he's got this down because he's behind a wreck, but Cippalippus just charges in there. He's got no reason to be afraid of a bad player in a Lukes. And there's the cleanup. Over 3,600 damage, remembering he got a blind shot in there. And resets on, what was that, like 5 enemy tanks in sequence, repeatedly, without being spotted and killed. I don't know what to say. I honestly don't know what to say. Anyway, I know there are some people who won't watch replays unless it's on YouTube rather than the, the in-game replay format. And so I just had to put this up so those people can see that wonderful piece of World of Tanks magic at the end. The enemy team in this match honestly probably would have done better if they were bots, because bots at least would shoot their guns. That Tiger at the start, the KV-85 on the D-line ridge, the guys in cap, all they did when they were taking fire from a tank they couldn't see, or even from a tank they could see in the case of the Tiger, was just sit there and wave their guns around. I don't know why they thought that would do anything. You need to actually fire your gun to scare the enemy away. Pointing it at them won't really do much. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did. Thank you for watching. I wish you the best of luck in the field, and I'll see you next time.